deaths always lag. So you will be seeing deaths at a time when, as an epidemic, we're doing really, really well because the deaths will lag.
Dr. Fauci, should Americans be prepared for the likelihood that there will be 100,000 Americans who die from this virus?
The answer is yes. We need, as sobering a number as that is, we should be prepared for it. Is it going to be that much? I hope not. And I think the more we push on the mitigation, the less likelihood it would be that number. But as being realistic, we need to prepare ourselves that that is a possibility, that that's what we will see.
A very short period of time for that to happen.
Right.
Can the country handle that in such a short period of time, within a couple of months?
Yeah.
50,000 a month.
You know, it will be difficult. I mean, no one is denying the fact that we are going through a very, very difficult time right now. I mean, we're seeing what's happening in New York. That is really, really tough. And if you extrapolate that to the nation, that will be really tough. But that's what it is.
The coming weeks are going to be very, very hard on America. Good morning and welcome to Morning Joe. It is Wednesday, April 1st. Along with Joe, Willie, and me, we have former White House advisor for health policy, professor and vice provost for global initiatives at the University of Pennsylvania, Dr. Ezekiel Emanuel. He's an NBC News and MSNBC medical contributor. And co-founder and CEO of Axios, Jim VandeHei, joins us as well. Joe, that press briefing yesterday was dark. There were some hard truths that came forward in one big dose for the United States of America.
That is a press briefing that healthcare providers and doctors and scientists begged the White House to give 2 weeks ago, to tell Americans the truth. That is actually the briefing the intel community begged Donald Trump to give in January and February. They saw this coming even several weeks ago. Doctors I know very well, scientists, healthcare professionals were saying, Mr. President, 100,000, 200,000, 500,000 people could die from this virus if you don't start moving. The president didn't want to hear it. This is, after all, a president who talked about one person dying and one person from China, but we've got it taken care of. It'll be zero. And then soon after that, in February, he was talking about, oh, we have 14, 15 people who were infected, but we've done such a good job, it's going to go down to zero. Then, of course, he said the media was overblowing it, that their coverage was a hoax of the pandemic, that it was going to go away. And then he said that it would go away in April. The sun would come out, it would magically go away. And Willie, yesterday we found out, because the scientists and the doctors told the truth, and the president finally let them tell the truth to the American people. And again, what they said yesterday is what the president was urged to tell the American people 2 weeks ago. But now we go from the president blithely predicting this was going to go away in April when the sun came out, the flowers would bloom and everybody would be fine, to us finally being told the truth that April is, as Elliot said, April is the cruelest month, and we can expect 100 to 250,000 deaths in this country over the next 2-3 weeks. If we do everything right now, since our response to this has been so delayed and so pathetic up until last week.
Yeah, I know we're going to talk a lot about what the president said a couple of months ago, what he said a couple of weeks ago, what he said just last week. It was last week he was talking about opening the economy again by Easter for some parts of the country. He talked yesterday about, hey, this is not the flu. A lot of people have been saying it's the flu. The president said it was the flu a couple of weeks ago. We'll get into all of that, but just the numbers alone, I've heard the word sobering used a lot. I would say staggering when you have Dr. Birx and you have Dr. Fauci standing up there with charts showing us these numbers, predicting that even with current social distancing guidelines in place, 100,000 to 240,000 potential deaths. And if the measures don't stay in place, that death toll could be higher. The next few weeks, we're told, will be the worst.
I want every American to be prepared for the hard days that lie ahead. We're going to go through a very tough 2 weeks. And then hopefully, as the experts are predicting, as I think a lot of us are predicting after having studied it so hard, you're going to start seeing some real light at the end of the tunnel. But this is going to be a very painful, very, very painful 2 weeks.
In the next several days to a week or so, we're going to continue to see things go up. We cannot be discouraged by that because the mitigation is actually working and will work.
There's no magic bullet. There's no magic vaccine or therapy. It's just behaviors. Each of our behaviors translating into something that changes the course of this viral pandemic over the next 30 days.
The next couple of weeks, we're going to be seeing some serious things that the American public, unfortunately, is going to have to get used to seeing. What we're doing with the mitigation is to try and blunt that. But no matter what we do, even with the, I believe, positive effects that we're seeing with the mitigation, it's going to be a tough couple of weeks coming up.
Now, we've heard, Zeke Emanuel, that nobody could have seen this coming. The fact is, everybody saw this coming. Everybody saw this coming in early January. So I know I know you, like me, have wanted the president to give this sobering press conference for weeks. And what happened in a strange way yesterday was a bit of relief because it was the first time that actually the president allowed his scientists and doctors to say the sort of things that you've been saying all along. As grim as yesterday's press conference was, as grim as the news was, it actually was a step in the right direction because it tells the truth about the hell we're about to go through, but also says how we can avoid it in the future. What was your takeaway from yesterday?
That the president had a conversion experience. He, confronted the numbers and could not wiggle out of the numbers. And I noticed, you and Willie emphasizing the 100,000 to 250,000, 240,000 people who might die in this country if everything goes right and everyone begins to adhere to these physical distancing measures, and we can actually get the mitigation that Dr. Fauci's been talking about in place. But the fact is, we haven't been doing it right for a long time. And the other graph that they showed was even grimmer, which was 1.5 million to 2 million people dying if we don't get these measures in place. And that translates to 150 million to 200 million Americans actually infected with this virus. And I've been saying that for several weeks and been pilloried on the right-wing media because I've been saying, if we don't do something in the next 7 to 14 days, we're going to have more than 100 million people infected. I think you've been a little generous and Willie's been a little generous. 2 weeks ago, we needed this. That's certainly true. We needed it 2 weeks ago. But people have been warning about this for 3 or 4 weeks since the start of March that we really need to get on this and do this. So I think there's been a real conversion experience. I think the real question is, how long does it last in the White House? We have had one or two grim press conferences before, right after the Imperial College of London's estimate came out about 2 weeks ago. The president gave a sort of sober press conference and then was right back to championing chloroquine and the fact that this was, we only needed 15 days. This is going to be a long haul. I think Dr. Fauci is right. And we have about another 7 days to really get this in place. We're probably actually behind the 8 ball. I do think I would take. Go ahead, Joe. Sorry.
No, you go.
I would take a moment of optimism. I'm generally a very optimistic guy, and I have been talking to my colleagues in the medical schools in Seattle and San Francisco in particular, places that were hit hard, hit early, and that, Seattle especially, where they had the first case of first death. And they did this physical distancing and these mitigation measures pretty early because they were shocked. And they do seem to be working. So that comment that Dr. Fauci made that, while the deaths will be going up, this social mitigation, social distancing and mitigation, wearing the mask will make a difference. And we won't see it for a while because it's what we call a lagging indicator in the health field. That does seem to be happening. And there are some glimmers that you really can make a difference. And the data aren't just from China or other places. They're from actually the United States, places that jumped on it. And so I think you're going to need a president who can lead at that moment, that things are getting worse, but we're able to see around the corner, and it's really going to be better in weeks. And I think, this idea of 30 days does bother me a little bit because it's too short.
Yeah, it's
not honest.
You are right about Washington State. There is some positive glimmers of hope coming out of Washington State. Even Italy, who's been through a month of hell, you're starting to see a slight bending of the curve in Italy. Those believing that things are getting better. But I do want to underline the recklessness of talk show radio hosts and people online and Trumpists. These Trump hacks, Jim VandeHei, who have been mocking people like Zeke Emanuel, who warned about this day coming, and so they, of course, are attacked online. I was attacked online by an idiot about quoting the Imperial College study, and then, of course, the president is now quoting those same numbers. So, I'm sure they'll fall in line and talk about how brilliant Donald Trump was. These miracle cures, I've seen quacks and demagogues and profiteers getting on talking about hydrochloroquine, how it's a miracle drug, how whoever took it recovered, and it's a miracle drug. Even Donald Trump yesterday backing off of that, saying we still have a ways to go after the press conference. But thanks for checking out MSNBC on YouTube, and make sure you subscribe to stay up to date on the day's biggest stories. And you can click on any of the videos around us to watch more from Morning Joe and MSNBC. Thanks so much for watching.